Well, it's hello from him.
Richard Moore, and it's hello from her.
It's Michelle Monroe again. And it's that time of year when millions tune in to watch or listen to the 70th edition of the Eurovision Song Contest. Now, last year, Richard and I talked about Dad's role in the event. And it's certainly a very different animal to those humble beginnings where the original concept had only one singer performing all the chosen songs so that the judges couldn't be influenced by the personality of the singer and hopefully would concentrate on the song itself. Now, the first competition in 1956 had just 7 entries, each submitting 2 songs each, and was broadcast from a tiny platform in Switzerland in front of a studio audience of just 200. Now, this was the only year that more than one song per country was allowed.
Now, it's interesting you should mention the 1956 competition. A short while ago, the European Broadcasting Union launched a hunt for its 2 missing contests, 1956 and, of course, 1964, which Matt took part in. Although it's possible that nobody actually recorded the 1956 show, it was the sort of era where everything, if it went out live, that was it. It wasn't taped. I live in hope they'll find some visuals for 1964. The only known footage is of the winning song from both the TV version and some newsreel cameras that were there too, and from Matt's own cine camera. He was very into gadgets and had just bought a new toy and took the opportunity to film a few snatches during rehearsals.
Goodness, he did.
Absolutely, yes.
You know, well, up until 1974, the acts were incredibly diverse and nations sang almost exclusively in their national languages. Music styles differed enormously and there were no real strategies for success to speak of. Now, between 1956 and 69, if more than 2 songs gained the same points, they would share the position, which meant in 1969 there were actually 4 winners. Now, in the 7 decades the contest has been running, there have been 7 amendments if 2 or more songs tied for first place. Today, if this happens, of course, the winner is chosen by who obtained the highest rank from all the national audiences and the rest of the world. Did you know, Richard, that Australia would have won Eurovision in 2016 if the voting system wasn't changed the previous year? Or that Sweden's Carola wouldn't have won the contest in 1991 if the tie-break rules from today were active back then. So it just goes to show you, doesn't it? We mentioned that there were 4 winners in 1969, all the countries, France, Spain and the Netherlands and the UK scoring 18 points. Now, that's the only time in the history of the contest that has happened. Hosted in Madrid, one of the winners was our entry with the gorgeous Lulu singing her chart-topping hit, Boom Banga Bang. Do you remember that?
Oh, I most certainly do, yes.
I mean, Dad and Lulu worked together many times over the years, dating back to August 1965, when they both appeared on Blackpool Night Out. Mike and Bernie Winters, which were 2 of Dad's closest friends, hosted the show, which included American comedy star Alan Sherman and special guests Dad and Lulu. Back then, the show was backed by Bob Sharples and the ABC television show band, and another favourite, Lionel Blair with his dance troupe.
Ah, good old Lionel Blair. But your dad's big night out performances do generally survive, which is a bit of a surprise. That's doesn't quite often happen. But of course, his Blackpool Night Out, that you mentioned, has of course gone. It's a shame though that licensing issues prevent us from including those big night out clips on our channel. I'm afraid the company that owns those just wants such enormous amounts of money to allow us to use them, I'm afraid, which is why they're not up there at the moment.
No, it's annoying that some of the best clips are ones that we're not allowed to share with the fans. And actually, the USA would allow us to use Dad's Ed Sullivan shows, but at such an exorbitant cost, it's prohibitive, you know.
Yeah, I think they quoted us something like $2,000 a second, you know. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous, the amounts that they want for some of these things, and yet they're just happy for it to otherwise sit there on the shelf and not really be seen by anybody, which is a real shame.
Well, I mean, there's so much of it, you know, not just
there is,
you know, yeah. But I don't understand that you know, could be earning good revenue from these things and just
indeed,
for it, you know.
Yes. Yes.
Well, the following year, Dad and Scotland's Singing royalty Lulu thrilled Sandy Shaw and Rolf Harris on Rediffusion's 5 O'Clock Club.
Are we allowed to mention Mr. Wobbleboard these days? Anyway, 5 O'Clock Club was a popular 1963 to 1966 British children's television show produced by Associated Rediffusion for ITV. It was hosted by Muriel Young, Howard Williams, and later Wally Whiten. The twice-weekly tea time show featured puppets Ollie Beak and Fred Barker, alongside music, quizzes, and hobbies. Guess how many episodes of that show survived, Michelle? What do you think?
Let me have a think.
Well, absolutely none. And so, not a single episode, which is a great shame. As Matt sang Beyond the Hill on that show, as he did on quite a few other shows, actually, also which don't survive. And it's something we don't have on any other show at all. I mean, it's one of those missing songs, really. He recorded it in the studio, he performed it an awful lot live, but have we got any other evidence of it? Have we, Egg?
No. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of the stuff we do have, and I'm thankful for that, but he's usually singing Born Free or Poor.
Absolutely.
Yes. You know, it would have been nice to have something a little bit more unusual on there, you know.
It would.
But Lulu and Daddy appeared together on D Time, which was recorded at Dickinson Road Studios in Manchester, which was a terrible old converted church. Now, Simon Dean made a big thing about the show being extemporaneous with no cues of any kind and that it was all ad-lib. So Matt gets introduced. Here's my next guest, Matt Monroe. And Dad says to Simon, "You didn't say my name right." And Simon says, "I said Matt Monroe." Dad says, "It isn't Matt Monroe, it's Matt Monroe." Simon replies, "I said Matt Monroe." And Dad says, "You didn't. My name is spelt Mattmonro. You said Munro, Munroe. Simon says, "Well, how do you know that?" And Dad says, "It's written on your cue card." And of course, Lulu and the other guests, there was Bob Monkhouse, Herman Sermitz, Jose Feliciano. All the audience, they absolutely fell about. It was so funny.
D-Time. An incredibly popular show. It had massive viewing figures. Simon D was one of the most famous people on TV in the late 60s. Until he moved to ITV, where it suddenly all went wrong. And he suddenly found himself out of a job, poor chap, after a very short space of time. His chat show was twice weekly, and it had fabulous guests. Probably about 100 shows over the couple of years it was on the air were made. Guess how many episodes survive in full? 3! 3! Out of those hundreds, plus some clips from some other episodes. And here we go. The exact amount of surviving footage featuring Matt Monroe? 0. Absolutely nothing at all. There is a bit of a pattern emerging, you'll notice.
You think?
Yes, just a bit.
Well, next came the Val Doonican show, and both Dad and Lulu were entranced by the story of Val's most famous prop, which was the rocking chair, in which he would sway gently back and forth in his array of woolly jumpers and his Irish charm as he accompanied himself on the guitar. Well, unlike the shenanigans of a lot of TV shows, it wasn't a calculated gimmick, but it came about by accident. On a show in which Val was due to sing early in his career, there was a young singing guitar-playing nun. And the producer suggested that she use the chair from the studio props department, but the experiment failed. And so Doonican tried it instead, and it was because of this that Dad commissioned his own stage stool, which travelled around the world with him and was on stage on every performance.
Which, of course, the family still have, don't you?
Oh, yes. I mean,
Yes.
never get rid of that.
Oh, no, absolutely not, no. And your brother used it for a while as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he took it on every single performance. It was on stage with him. It's sort of it's like Dad's there with him somehow,
Yeah. Well, once again, Val Doonican show, Matt's edition doesn't exist, although we're lucky enough to have an audio recording of the show. And a clip, in fact, a whole song, What Do You Say We Laze the Day Away, which I think was written by Val, is included on the CD that was in the limited edition of Matt's biography that Michele wrote called Special Reserve. So at least we've got that. That's something. It's a step in the right direction.
Better than nothing, you know.
Indeed, yes.
What do you say we laze the day away? Beautiful idea. Sit in a siesta session. Yawning is the best expression. Take it easy, talents ought to have their play. So what do you say we laze the day away?
In July 1970, Lulu invited Dad onto her own television show, It's Lulu. And a decade earlier, Dad appeared on ATV's Lunchbox, hosted by Noah Gordon, and sang one of my favourites, Lulu's Back in Town. Now, I would have loved it if Dad had sang that on the night. In fact, I'm surprised no one suggested it.
Yeah, in fact, it would have been a good name for a show, I suppose, wouldn't it? You know, it would be called Lulu's Back in Time. It's better than It's Lulu, surely, but there you go.
Absolutely.
So tell me, do you think that by any chance Matt's edition of the show, It's Lulu, survives?
Well, one would hope so.
Of course not. Don't we, silly? Though we do, thanks to early superfan of Matt, Sue Moore, have an off-air recording of Lulu's Back in Town from Lunchbox, which you can find on Matt's official YouTube channel. There's absolutely nothing of It's Lulu, well, at least Matt's edition. There are a few editions in the archives of the show, but of course, none of them are Matt's.
No, I don't understand, to be honest. I mean, it's virtually everything Dad did is missing. That's huge. I mean, the Royal Command, for goodness sake, the Eurovision Song Contest, I mean, those are big moments, you know. But Lulu's Back in Town is one of my favourite swingers that Dad sang, and obviously no more for his smooth ballads, but I loved it when he let go and rip, you know. And it's interesting that in 1963 and 64, he actually won the Best Male Singer in Melody Maker's Jazz Poll.
Well, they must have heard that recording of It's the Wrong Time, you know. It must have snuck out somewhere.
Yeah, years humming, you know.
I know. Yes, it's amazing.
After writing Dad's biography, The Singer's Singer, The Life and Music of Matt Monro, I was doing a book tour around the bookshops of the UK. And in one town, I was at W.H. Smith's. And unbeknown to me at the time, Lulu was at Waterstones promoting her book a few shops down. Now, I had a queue of people waiting for signatures, and this man came up to me saying Lulu had learnt I was there, and would it be okay for her to come and say hello? Well, I was absolutely blown away by that kindness, and after posing for a few press shots, exchanging books, of course, she told me how much she had loved Dad and his music, which was a lovely thing for her to do, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because Dad always seemed to leave a lasting impression on people. Bruce Forsyth said he loved him like a brother. It went that deep, and over the years I've received so many messages saying what their friendship to Dad meant to them. As a little girl, I grew up believing Dad was my knight in shining armour, as so many little girls do. And to constantly hear how kind he was, how unaffected by stardom he was, makes me really proud. I mean, you remember Dave Allen said one felt good in his company, and hopefully, he said, it was returned. Now, like other friends in the business, you might not see each other monthly, but you regularly bumped into each other on television, radio and variety shows at the time. And it was like, you know, no time had passed at all. They literally carried on where they'd last left off. In fact, one case in point was when Dad and Dave Allen were both appearing in Birmingham. Dave was at La Dolce Vita and Dad at the Castaways Club. Now, Dave's show finished slightly earlier than Dad's, and Dave arrived at the Castaway undetected and accessed the royal box right above the stage, which was decked out, do you remember, like a desert island with palm trees littered around the stage, a raft, and there's sand on the floor. And Dad was in the middle of My Kind of Girl, when Dave jumped from the box on top of one of the palm trees on stage, nearly causing Dad another case of Montezuma's revenge. I mean, it was quite a night. I mean, the audience were absolutely as startled as Dad was, but I think some of them thought it was part of the act, which it absolutely wasn't. But when I mentioned earlier about carrying off where they left off, they'd arrived back at their hotel, they changed into comfy clothes, ordered a crate of Guinness for Dave and a bottle of scotch for Dad, and they settled down to play their ritual of poker. And Dave got out a little pad out of his pocket and said to Dad, "I dealt last time, so it's your deal and you're £25 down." So and they played the rest of the night, loving each other's company.
Yes, wonderful Dave, who was in last month's podcast, of course, and Matt appeared on several of Dave's TV shows, and on one edition of Sunday Night at the London Palladium that Dave also presented. Survival rate of those? Absolutely nothing, as usual. So, although we're lucky enough, as we heard last month, we do have some audio from a couple of those, so I suppose that's once again better than nothing.
Yeah, but it's such a shame. We keep saying it, but it's tragic,
It is, absolutely.
Well, another special moment, of course, came in December 76 on a Jubilee of Music. On the eve of the Queen's Jubilee year, artists who have contributed highlights to popular music over the past 25 years were invited to relive some of the greatest moments of their careers. There was a fantastic array of guests, apart from Dad and Lulu. There was, Vera Lynn, Acker Bilk, Max Bygraves, Petula Clark, Ken Dodd, Val Doonigan, Ralph Harris, Kathy Kirby, Cliff Richard, Helen Shapiro, and Norman Wisdom. Now, that's a hell of a lineup, isn't it?
It certainly is. And now this is the surprising bit.
Stop
the Jubilee of Music actually exists. And in fact, we've actually issued Matt's performance, which I think is Portrait of My Love, from that show on the official YouTube channel. I think, and if memory serves me correctly, a few years back, they even showed the whole show on BBC4, surprise, surprise. But there you go. No, that was still sorry.
Well, there have been huge names entering the Eurovision Song Competition over the last 7 decades, from the aforementioned Lulu to Cliff Richard, Sandy Shaw, Cloda Rogers, Michael Ball, Bonnie Tyler, The Shadows, ABBA, Julio Iglesias, Olivia Newton-John and Celine Dion, to name just a few. And although all of them were excited to perform for their country, several voiced their disappointment. Now, a lot of them also worked with Dad, and I have more stories to tell, but I'll have to leave that for another time, 16 nations came to Copenhagen to compete on Saturday, the 21st of March in 1964, and despite Dad's excellent presentation with the only English language performance of the night, he finished a distant runner-up with his entry, I Love the Little Things. As with so many of Dad's performances, no archival film exists of the recording, and the only one missing apart from the inaugural contest.
We are lucky once again to have audio of that, and somebody thankfully took quite a lot of photographs that night, and there's a lovely person on YouTube who's very kindly sent us the video that they've created of Matt's performance of I Love the Little Things using the plethora of photographs that were made on that night, and those are also up on our YouTube channel. And if anybody does have any information as to the whereabouts of the 1964 show, please do contact Eurovision about it, because they're really, really urgently looking for it at the moment, and we do hope they're successful. But if you do have it, let us know first, all right? So you know where to write, pod@mattmonroe.com. Let us know.
I mean, I know we constantly ask about Dad's lost performances, but we persevere at every opportunity because you never know. A case in point was Dad's very first Camé jingle. Now, during the book tour, I must have done more than 100 radio shows, and I kept asking. And would you believe a fan suddenly sent it in 18 years later, saying that she hadn't sent it before because she thought I must have it. So don't just think I will have it. Please just let us know what you've got, and we can tell you if we have or haven't got it.
And in many ways, we usually haven't. So If you're rifling through your loft and come across some old media, reel-to-reels, VHS, or even cine footage of somebody who pointed a camera at a TV set, you never know. We might have the audio that matches up with it. So just let us know. We will do our level best to transfer it, and you never know. You might find that on the YouTube channel for everybody else to see and share, which would be fabulous. And Michelle and I are definitely convinced that there's more stuff out there somewhere.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we hear of other people finding things on other artists. So I'm absolutely sure somebody's got something,
Yes.
Please go in, not just your loft, look at your garages, go to your grandparents' house, go in their lofts. We don't mind.
No, absolutely.
And
Sheds are good places. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, don't forget that Dad's only existing performance in Australia was found in my garage.
Yeah.
Nearly 2 decades after it had been put in there. It was covered by spiders' webs. It had been in the damp for years. Because it was unlabelled. We didn't know what it was, but thankfully it survived. So, don't assume that it can't be rescued, because Richard has all the equipment to transfer it.
Indeed. Or if I, for some strange reason, don't, I know somebody who does.
Absolutely. Know a man who can, don't we?
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, I mean, the Eurovision Song Contest is now cited as being the most watched non-sporting event in the world, drawing around 500 million worldwide broadcasts, both on television and, of course, the ever-growing internet. And it has consistently showcased popular music on an annual basis for over half a century. So, as I've said before, it would seem Eurovision is a little like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it.
I like Marmite, particularly Marmite-flavoured cashews, funnily enough. Not that keen on Eurovision, mind, but still. Not until they do a Marmite-flavoured version anyway. So, before we go, I must just mention the fabulous work being done by the organisation Film is Fabulous, who are based at De Montfort University in my old hometown of Leicester. And they work with collectors and former industry professionals to protect film collections that are sitting away in damp sheds and garages and lofts and things like this. And they help preserve them. They help estates sell off collections of material when the original collector has died and they don't know what to do with them. They're a charity. They are doing incredible work. And of course, in the course of what they do, they find things. I mean, they're not treasure hunters. They do occasionally come across gold. In fact, recently they found several missing Doctor Who episodes, which were widely reported across the world and are actually available to see on BBC iPlayer. And a couple of weeks ago, they found a lost edition of the first BBC Morecambe and Wise show. Well, not the first edition, but from the first series that they made for the organisation. And most of Morecambe and Wise's material from those days, from their time, from sort of, I think they joined in 1968 and left in 1977. The vast majority of their stuff exists, apart from that first series. And, of course, Matt appeared in that first series. And guess what? His edition is still missing. But they've very successfully managed to rescue one more edition. And I think that's now about half of that series is now been recovered. But I mean, what's the betting that, if they find more and more and more of those shows, because it's obvious now that they were all taped somewhere, that Matt's is going to be the last to be found. But there you go. Oh, well, what can you do?
It's sad. I mean, I know we keep saying it and we've said it before, but I don't get it. I don't know where they are. I mean, somewhere must, even if it's only an audio,
Yeah, Matt seems so unlucky in that department. I mean, you'll find there's other artists who I work with their estates, and the vast majority of the stuff that they did still exists. And you think, why has Matt been so unlucky? Why is it 90% at least? I mean, there might be even more, but 90% of what he ever did on TV and radio has gone. I mean, he did hundreds, thousands of broadcasts, and so
Yeah.
little of it remains.
Yeah,
It's
the thing is, I appreciate that tape was expensive, and in fact, I think it was Peter Cook. They were throwing out the series literally into a tick, and he offered to buy it, and they said no.
Yes, absolutely, and these things have happened so many times. There's the story of Monty Python. Monty Python's Flying Circus exists in full, but the only reason it still survives in full is due to a court case where the show was sold to American television, and I think there was a clause in the Python's contract to say that it wasn't to go out edited in any way. It had to go out as it was created. And the first thing that went out there was an edited compilation. And so they obviously saw red, and they sued the BBC for selling it in the way that they didn't want it to go out, and won all the original master tapes. And so they kept those over the years. And so that's the only reason that the whole series, because it started in 1969, and so it was an era where things weren't kept. That's the only reason that series exists in full, because they kept the tapes themselves. But yeah,
There was another one. Was it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or Ready, Steady, Go?
it was Ready, Steady, Go. Yeah. It's virtually disappeared, and they found bits of that in church halls and skips and all sorts of places. There are still stories. You still get people who have found things in skips, and they've kept them over the years. There were 2 episodes of the first series of Dad's Army. Dad's Army exists pretty much in full, apart from the very first series. And there were only 2 of those existing, I think. Now 4 exist out of the 6, and 2 of those were found in a skip, and somebody had got them in their shed or wherever for years and just hung on to them, thinking that, oh well, I'm sure the BBC have got those. I'll just hang on to these prints, and then eventually find out that they didn't have them, and presented them to I don't know which one of it was, whether it was David Croft or Jimmy Perry, one of the writers anyway, presented them to them, and they were bowled over. They were gobsmacked. So you never know. There's a couple of episodes of Dad's Army out there still to be recovered that are hopefully sitting in the back of somebody's shed. But there's so many people out there who try to con you as well. We've got through this, haven't we? Yes, we had this problem where somebody swore that they had a copy of Live at the Talk of the Town,
Which I paid a lot of money for.
yeah, and the other one was Petula Clark, yeah, and they didn't exist when the films arrived. They weren't what they said they were. What can you do?
Yeah, but then we had to have a long argument about getting our money back.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. Just because
But it wasn't anything to do with Dad on it. It was something completely different.
it was a Charlie Chaplin film or something like
Yeah.
that was in the can, I mean, they'd just put false labels on these things and tell people that that's what's inside them, and hope that that nobody checks. And but of course, as soon as they came into our possession, we sent them straight down to a professional company who specialise in transferring vintage films. And of course, only for
They
them.
had a lot of money to do it.
Absolutely,
Immediately, the bike arrived.
yeah. But and as soon as they got there, they got the films out, because obviously they do a lot of work on these things in the first place. They have to clean them up and make sure that they're all in a good condition before they start scanning them and putting through the machines. And they said, no, it's not those at all. It's a real film from such and such.
I was absolutely devastated because,
Yes.
we had a lot of conversations with this company about, are you sure? Yes, and this, he bought it off someone, and and I was so over the moon. It was such a rare find. Well, that
Yes.
obviously sparked red signals to me, but you and I both were convinced that it had been found.
Yes, absolutely. Because we won't go into the ins and outs of who did whatever. But we were the company that had that told us that they'd been found were reputable, And, you know, they'd found an awful lot of stuff in the past, and we thought that it had all been checked out by them in the first place.
Oh, yeah,
But knew what it was they were buying,
Yeah.
you know, but
They
there you
didn't
go.
check it either. That's the
No.
is they bought it and didn't check it and then, you know, sent it off. And as I say, I wouldn't mind, but I had a big fight on my hands to get my money back.
Yes. Well, I mean, I've always wondered, though, you know, from that event, that whether there was a grain of truth somewhere. I mean, why did they pick up on Matter the Talk of the Town and the Clark? Well, we had, but I mean, you know, it's not like it was big national news. So why were those two particular shows mentioned to this company? I mean, does that mean that they know that there's a collector who has actually got copies of these somewhere, and that's why they thought, oh well, there's a collector who's got that, so I can find some form of proof if I need to that these exist. So I don't know. It would be very interesting with Film is Fabulous doing what they do now and going around through collections. I have my fingers well and truly crossed that perhaps they might come across a collector who has those particular items, and that's where the idea came from in the first place. But
Because, you know, it's David Attenborough's 100th birthday today, as we were talking with. I mean, you know, there must be other elderly people out there who have, you know, a great collection of stuff that they've put in their attic and sort of thought nothing more of for years and years and years. And that's the era, you know, they're still here. So look out at car boot sales as well, you know.
yes, absolutely. And this is the problem, you know, when and this is what Film is Fabulous is trying to do for people, is that particularly when these people who've been in the business for a long time and they've taken home stuff that they've worked on and things like that, when they die, the families don't know what to do. They don't know what to do with this material. So if anybody listening to this happens to ever be in that situation where a relative of yours has sadly passed away and has left behind a collection of reel-to-reel tapes, films, videos that you don't know what to do with, things that might be of interest to collectors, contact. There's two people to contact if it's film or early videotape. Film is Fabulous. They're the people to contact about that.
Yeah, don't contact British Film Institute because we'll never...
No, you'll never see it again. And for audio, there's a lovely set of people called the Radio Circle. Okay, and there's several people who actively look for material there, and they've come across some fabulous material in the past. It was down partly to them that we got the audio from the Dave Allen show a few years ago, and they're very good at getting the material back to the broadcasters as well. And that's the thing. Once this material is found, you've got to make sure that it becomes accessible to people. And Radio Circle, they get stuff back to the BBC all the time, and a lot of that material gets put out on BBC 4 Extra, the radio station. And the Film is Fabulous, I keep name dropping, I know, but Film is Fabulous, they do showings of the material that they found. They work with the broadcasters. They insist with the broadcasters, if you possibly can, if you get this material back to you, please make it available so that people can see it again. Which is exactly what they did with the Doctor Who's. And the good news about that Morecambe and Wise that they found is it's Eric's 100th birthday later this month. And that show is being shown on Eric's 100th birthday in a few weeks' time. So that's brilliant news, you know, that these things, they can be made available. And so if stuff comes to us, we like to make it available, you know, so we don't like to sit on stuff. We're actually...
Film Institute are a wonderful organisation, and I don't take anything away from that. But do you remember when we were trying to find some of the other Camé?
Yes.
And they told us, yes, they had it, and I had to pay a lot of money. And what they sent back wasn't what we had asked for. And
It was the correct advert, but it just didn't have your dad on it. It was an alternate version
no,
with
but they
just
didn't-
orchestra.
They didn't listen to it either, did
No,
they? Charged us for it, all the forms to fill in, etc., and it wasn't. And then I had problems getting my money back again.
Yeah, and then the British Film Institute also has the only known copy of Skiers of Norway.
It's not
was
the
a
old
travel.
copy, is
Well,
it?
it is the only known copy these days. I mean, there could be other copies out there, but so far we've never come across one. And the director, Ewan Lloyd, had a copy of the film because it was one of his very early productions. And it was only because of Ewan that we even know it exists, because he let us know that he'd got a copy, but he'd already given his print, which is the only one we know about, to the British Film Institute. And he'd only got a VHS copy, which is what we've got a copy of, which is great, to be honest.
They won't let us have it. So
Well, the problem is it's all down to money. They want an enormous amount of money because of all the bells and whistles and all the things that they have to do to preserve that film in order to even transfer it. And that's a lot of the problem with it. You know, they want thousands just to run us off a copy of the film.
yeah,
So there you go, you see. So
it doesn't charge that much.
of course. Well, yeah, I mean, not when it comes to Matt Monro. Other things, yeah, you never know.
Not exorbitant. I mean, back
No, it's not. It's not.
with EMI, in the end, they chose you over Abbey Road because you were quicker, faster, and better.
Well, yes, this is it. You know, I do what I do for the love of the music as well as trying to make a living. And I don't want to, there's no point in charging people exorbitant amounts for these things. You know, you want to get them rescued, you want to get them heard.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I do what I do. You know, you want to make sure this material is safe. And of course we released the or re-released, because it hadn't been available for a long while, re-released the Araneta Coliseum concert and audio, and we are hopefully going to release some more archive footage from our archive audio, I should say, from our vaults over the next couple of years, hopefully, and just to as I say, make available for people what they can't get elsewhere.
But you were saying about, the cost of preserving and this and that. You remember very years and years ago, you came over and preserved Dad's rendition of Pagliacci, which was
Yes.
What was it on?
It's on an acetate disc.
It was brittle, wasn't it?
Mm.
And you said it wouldn't have survived being moved.
No, it's one of these things, you don't want to send it through the post. You don't want to send it anywhere, really. They're fragile. That thing's, what's he going to, 74 years old now for 1952, is that right? 74?
Yeah.
So you've got to be very careful with these things. And so to get them digitized, to get them preserved so that they're not going to disintegrate. I mean, that's what happens. Tape, film, it's all in danger because film can suffer from what they call vinegar syndrome, which is where the plastic that's on the film starts to break down. It can rot. If it gets wet and horrible, the awful things can happen to it. And tape can start to flake away and start to disintegrate. And what's even worse is that the machines, film's not so bad, but when it comes to videotape and audio tape, the machines that can play them are starting to, they're starting to die out. There are fewer and fewer of them. I'm very lucky that I have my nice studio in my office, in my studio, that I can transfer stuff on. But, there aren't that many of them around anymore that can do that sort of thing, that can transfer in really good quality. So, it's don't sit on something and think, oh, well, I've got it here. It's on a tape. It's fine. It might not be. It won't last forever. So get it preserved if you possibly can.
Well, every few years. I mean, I had, from when my son was born, I had everything on video. And then I had it all transferred to DVD.
Yeah.
And then at one point you said to me, yeah, but it won't last on there. And there's me thinking it's all preserved.
Yeah.
Nothing is forever, is it?
That's it. That's it.
Swearing.
CDRs, DVDRs, or anything that was home recordable, some of them will still work brilliantly for a long time, but others, just depending on the die that was used, the batch of discs that it was, etc., they start to decay, they start to fail, and it's a worry, which is why everything that Michele has got on disc, I also have a separate copy on a different type of
Media.
Just to make sure that we've got these things safe. A lot of these things I've also put onto hard drives as well to make sure that we don't lose them. Admittedly, most of these thankfully exist in archives, but there's some things that, they're the only copy, and you've got to be careful of these things.
Well, like Dad's cine footage of Eurovision.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
There is no other copy,
No.
That's it. It's the original cine. And all I say is, thank God there's a Richard Moore.
That's very
On that note, I think that all that remains to be said is we hope you would join us next month on Matt's official podcast.
And of course, don't forget that if you want to contact us in any way, shape or form about what we've talked about anything that you happen to have hanging around in your attic or shed or garage that might be of interest to us, any stories, any photographs, anything you like that's Matt related, or that we might be interested in one way, shape or form, do get in touch with us. The email address, as usual, is pod@mattmonroe.com. Michele, what is that?
Pod something.
It's pod@mattmonroe.com. She'll remember it one of these days.
Oh, and you can email me on michele@mattmonroe.com.
And we will see you. Yes. And we will see you, hopefully, very soon, next month.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. God bless.
And you. Bye-bye.